everybody, welcome back to Happily Hester After. So I'm not doing a cooking tutorial or anything. It's just early in the morning. I'm tired. I'm not trying to hold this little camera up. But anyway, I feel like I always update you guys in the morning. I'm trying to get me some coffee at least. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about was when your friends don't deal with infertility like you do, or when they don't have to do IVF, or they don't have to do any of that. How that can... Sorry, I'm leaning out so I can put my coffee down. How that can... Let me just take the camera off for a minute so I can get my sugar and stuff. How that can affect like your friendships, your mental health. Because honestly, one thing that I've learned in life is that when you're around people who are going through what you're going through and they understand it a lot better, you know, it's different. It's different than when you're around people who haven't been or aren't going through what you're going through. And I mean, just being honest. But that doesn't mean that you want to necessarily unfriend those people. You know, my family, my church family, our church family, you know, they're more than friends to us. They're family. So, you know, just because we don't have something in common doesn't mean that we're going to stop being friends. But we had to learn a new dynamic. And I had to learn a new dynamic as well, me personally, because honestly, as understanding and as empathetic as they are, they will never truly understand what it is that we are going through. I hope and pray that they never have to. So we're already at a little bit of a, you know, not crossroads per se, but different experiences. I'm like trying to bring this tripod down so I can sit it down so I can start drinking my coffee, y'all. But it was something that I was thinking about because I was like, you know, I lately, you know, quarantine got me thinking and everything, but I'm like, you know, I wonder how awkward it is for my friends, for my family, in knowing like how to speak to me or what's going on, or, you know, when we talk about different things about the process and they're like, oh, okay, you know. And then I was thinking about like me personally, how especially now I'm a little bit more mature, so it's different. I wonder if I can get some extra lights in here. I feel like I'm doing a TV broadcast, but I don't know. But anyway, and it got me thinking about like how difficult it is to navigate those relationships, because I've talked about this a lot when it comes to having a miscarriage or experiencing a loss. It's like you have to almost go through a transformation of sorts, because you have to come to terms with going from being like who you were to being this woman who experienced this loss. And you know, if you haven't experienced a loss, it probably sounds like completely out there, because it's like, oh, it was just you know, I cannot stand "it was just" comments, but that's normally what pops into people's minds when they haven't experienced the loss is, oh, it was just, you were just this far along, you didn't, you know, get to hold the baby, yada yada yada. But honestly, it doesn't matter how early your loss was. It is life-changing. And let me be the first one to tell you guys, my biggest thing was that when you first get pregnant, especially when you've been trying for a minute, it's like you have this whole life plan in your head, and you know, biblically it's like you don't want to plan for anything because God has the final say. But in faith, you start daydreaming about, you know, the rest of your life. And then when that dream is just like ripped from in front of you, you have to take a moment to readjust yourself. You have to take a minute to say, okay, this is where I was, this is who I was a few minutes ago, and now I have to rework that. And then also it's difficult to get over. It's difficult to have a miscarriage. It's difficult to suffer from infertility for years, have a miscarriage, and then look at your, you know, 3, 4, 5 little nieces and nephews running around and not feel something. So when it comes to dealing with friends and family members and loved ones who haven't walked down the road that you walked down, even if you haven't experienced a loss, even if you've been dealing with infertility, that stuff is hard, especially when like Mother's Day comes around. But I want to encourage you guys, it's hard for you, but my husband gave me a little bit of insight into how hard it can be for them too. And I've been thinking about it ever since he said it, about how hard it is for them to really know how to respond or how to react or what to do or what it is that you need from them. You know, a lot of the times when you go through something and people are close to you while you're going through it with them, while you're going through it, they're close to you, you're thinking like they've seen what's going on, they should feel this. But honestly, they can't. Even Daryl, he can't really feel the extent to which I felt that pain with those miscarriages. Like, it's just something that he will never feel. You know, of course he's sad because he lost his kid too, but there's just something about having and knowing that there's life growing inside of you and then it just not anymore. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But he gave me some insight into how difficult of a road that is for those people as well, and it got me thinking like, oh my goodness, you know, our first reaction when you go through a loss and somebody says something to you that's sideways, your first reaction is like, I cannot believe you just said that to me. But in their minds, they're just trying to relate to you. They're trying to comfort you, and they may not necessarily know how to yet. They don't know how to speak to somebody who's gone through what you've gone through, especially if they haven't gone through it themselves and they don't know anybody who's gone through it. You see, we were the first ones in our friend group, in our small family, to deal with anything like this. This was new to everybody, and I had to remind myself of that. Listen, this is new to you, and it's even newer to them because you have a first row seat. They're sitting back in the balcony somewhere. They don't know what's going on. So I had to kind of show them a little bit more grace. And what Daryl taught me was that you need to, it may seem like something that's obvious to you, but you need to tell them like what you want and what you need. Especially when it came to like Mother's Day, he was like, you know, you have to tell me what you want from me because I don't want to trigger you, I don't want to upset you, I want to support you. And that's even with like spousal relationships. I had to explain that to him. So I want to encourage you guys to show them a little bit of grace. You know, honestly, people say things sometimes when you are in this process and it might trigger you for a minute and you're like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe they just said that. But I've learned to start kind of looking behind what they say and looking more at what they were trying to say, looking at their meaning. You can never really know what's in somebody's heart, but everybody has like a sense of when somebody's being genuine with them or not. So you know, I had to kind of remind myself they don't know. This is just as new of a road for them as it is for you. So, you know, it can be hard. It can be hard to try to navigate friendships in the midst of dealing with infertility. It's hard to manage relationships like marriages. So, of course, it's going to be hard with your friends. But, you know, honestly, if the friendship is important and if it's worth saving, put in the work, because I'm telling you one thing, when you open up to them, you would be surprised, genuine like friends, you would be surprised how much love and how much support you receive in the aftermath. So I have to tell you guys about my Mother's Day because I haven't talked about it yet, and I just was so touched because, you know, I kind of had geared myself up already before Mother's Day. I was like, this is gonna be a hard day for me. I need to, you know, make sure that I keep myself grounded, make sure that I keep myself, you know, centered in everything so that I can handle whatever comes up. And I had already kind of had that mindset, you know, got some stuff we were in quarantine, but I still dropped some stuff off to my mom. And, you know, our church is a super small church, so we're less than 10 people, so we normally would still meet up. We would just all wear masks and stay the 6 feet and everything. But anyway, so I had already prepared myself to see everybody. I was like, you know, everybody's gonna come in here with all these kids, and I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna be excited for them, I'm gonna be happy for them, because prayerfully I'm gonna be in their shoes next year. But anyway, so I was in a good place this Mother's Day. You know, in the back of my mind I had this feeling like, okay, if you don't keep yourself in control, don't let yourself sink back into negativity or, you know, any of that. But I was pretty good this Mother's Day. So I wasn't expecting, after service, everybody was like giving gifts to our pastor, because, you know, she's our spiritual mom and everything. Anyway, so it completely surprised me when they started walking up to me with flowers. I was like, hello, did you reach the wrong house, wrong number? And, you know, legitimately, you guys, I almost cried, because I was like, what? And you know, they were just telling me, you know, you may not be a mom yet, but you know, you've got these embryos and you're gonna be a mom soon. You know, we have faith, we believe, and we want to make sure that we start getting you used to, you know, being honored on Mother's Day and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh. When you break the barriers in your own personal relationships, you would be surprised at what you find on the other side. Because if I hadn't have opened up within these past few years about everything that we were going through, because we've had plenty of hearts with everyone and explaining to them what's going on, how we're feeling, giving them updates and everything. But if we hadn't have been so open, they might not have even like known or thought to do something like that. So it was so beautiful, you guys. Like, they got me flowers, gift cards. I still have my flowers upstairs actually. They beautiful vase and everything. If I can, I might put a couple pictures in, but they gave me a Starbucks card, y'all. I was like, let me use this up before this transfer. But you know, my whole point is just that it's difficult maintaining and managing those relationships, but in the end, I truly do believe that it'll be worth it. And even if, you know, they don't respond the way that, you know, my friends and my loved ones did, even if they respond negatively, my whole thing is that at least you know who's on your team and who's not. You know who is there to support you and you know who's not. And you can move either way. You move forward in a better way. And you know, that goes into a whole nother conversation about how people affect your life and how even people who do negative things in your life, it still works out because they make you stronger and smarter. That's a whole nother thing for another time. But my whole point is just that cherish those relationships as best as you can and do your part to make sure that you keep them informed and educated. It may be an awkward thing to talk about, but it's your reality, and you should be able to share your reality with the people who love you. And if you are somebody on the outside, so if you're somebody who hasn't experienced infertility or loss or anything, and you're trying to get some insight on how to deal with your loved one who is, all I can say is ask them. It may be awkward, but ask them what they need. Ask them how they're feeling. Tell them that you're there for them. I always tell people, and I wrote a blog post about this, you guys. I started a blog, but we'll talk about that another time. But I'll link the blog post in the little box down there so you can take a look. But anyway, and I go into more detail there. But anyway, I always tell people, don't use those just statements. It completely trivializes and minimizes everything that they're talking to you about or everything that they've been through. Don't use those just statements. It's always, help me understand. Ask questions. Not like those like two-edged sword questions. Don't ask those like, I don't even know how to describe them. Like, just don't ask those types of questions. Ask genuine questions. Learn more. Talk to them about how they're feeling, what they're going through. Let them know, I haven't been through what you've been through, but I love you, and you know, you're not alone in going through this. Honestly, that goes miles. Just having somebody acknowledge what you're going through or what you've been through and say that they are there, you would be surprised how like helpful that is. And like I said, check out my blog post. I go into more detail about it. I'm gonna have to talk to you guys about my blog later. But anyway, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. I've been talking to you guys for way too long. I'm sorry. You guys know how I am. But anyway, just make sure that you've hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell button so you can receive notifications whenever we post new videos, especially about this process. We have got some exciting stuff coming up, y'all, even in the midst of quarantine. So make sure that you're subscribed so you can get notifications. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Y'all just remember, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. And have a blessed and wonderful day, and Lord willing, we will see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.